What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another live edition of Travel Happens. I am your Travel Ninja, Dale. With me, as always, is Travel Ninja Tim. And as promised, this week we will be talking about spring break and spring break destinations. Later on in this episode, you will see us talk about how to get away from the crowded beaches where all the college kids go for spring break. If you're an adult looking to get a little bit more romantic, a little bit more quiet time, we're also going to cover some alternatives to Mexico and to the Caribbean, places that are a little less traveled to, because what we're going to first start off with is a little update on the Zika virus. Because we're going to be covering spring break and a lot of those destinations, the Caribbean, Mexico, U.S. Virgin Islands, those are pretty popular destinations. We thought it would be pretty important to bring up what the Zika virus is and to give some alternatives to those locations. So with that, I'm going to pass it on over to Travel Ninja 10 to give you a little bit background, a little bit more information about the Zika virus and how it might disrupt your travel plans.
Well, good evening, everybody. We really appreciate you taking time out of your Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. The Zika virus is just something to be aware of. We don't want to, say, hey, don't go to the Caribbean. But if you're getting ready to have a family, or if you're already pregnant, or if you're getting ready, to kind of start down that path, you just want to be aware of this because, when it started in Brazil and it's gotten really big and it's all over the place right now, especially in the Caribbean and Mexico and stuff like that. And if you contract the Zika virus while you're pregnant, you can have some birth deformities that you just want to be concerned about with babies and their heads not developing correctly. So we definitely want to make you aware before you go. And that's one of the benefits of using a travel professional. In fact, Dale, we were talking about it today. If you already had a trip planned for going to a location, and this is something that may, because maybe you're pregnant or you're getting ready to start your family, you had some alternatives. What were those alternatives again?
Exactly. Again, this is just another excellent reason why you would want to use a travel professional or a travel agent or a travel ninja for planning out your travels, because this is something that would easily be able to assist you with if you book the travel on your own. There's going to be some extra hoops that you're going to have to jump through. But a lot of vendors, cruises, all-inclusive resorts, as much as what they're doing as much as what they can to keep the mosquitoes down, because that is how the Zika virus is transmitted. But if you are pregnant or you're looking to have a family in the near future, they are offering alternative itineraries, especially for the cruise ships. And they're each doing something a little special to kind of accommodate you so you can actually enjoy the time that you probably already requested off of work. So that's just another excellent reason why you would always want to use a travel professional, because we would do the work for you. So that kind of, I guess, covers that. I mean, it's nothing like serious. It's not like earth shattering what the Zika virus is. It's just that, it affects a small number of people. Common symptoms, you're going to have it's similar to was it the dengue fever? So you're going to have some sweating, joint pain, aches, muscle aches, headaches, things like that. But it's nothing to be super concerned about unless you are starting to have a family. Which is kind of the reason why we chose to do some alternatives for those that maybe are looking to have a family and don't want to take a risk at all by going down into the Caribbean, U.S. Virgin Islands, or Mexico. So we decided to incorporate something that's a little bit near and dear to our hearts. Tim and I, we both enjoy the great outdoors, and we have some really awesome memories from previous years about them. So we decided to include some national parks as a way to still enjoy your spring break, but not put yourself at risk by going to an area that may have that Zika virus floating around. So, Tim, I believe you were talking about a story about Yellowstone, if I remember.
Actually, yeah, Yellowstone was one of my big experiences growing up. In the beginning when I was young, the car ride, driving all the way out there from Oregon to Yellowstone, that was a little treacherous. But when we got out there, man, it was just unreal, some of the stuff that you get to see, because it's not the same in a picture or in a video. When you're really there and you see Old Faithful shoot up into the sky, water just shooting out of the ground, way up in the air, that's a really neat experience. Getting to see some of the most amazing colors in nature. And there's always that awesome sulfur egg smell from some of the areas where you're there. But Yellowstone was really cool. You know, I got to do some fishing. I was where I learned how to fly fish right on a river. You just could pull over right off the side of the road. There'd be people with their pants rolled up around their knees fishing right there. You know, you get to see wild bears and just, you know, and you don't necessarily have to camp in a tent. There is camping for RVs and stuff like that. And one of the benefits of going to national parks is it's very cost efficient. You know, one of the things Dale and I were just talking about, I just learned this, you know, we're a military family. Military, you can actually get a pass to the national parks for free. So as a military family, if those are some of the excursions you want to go on, now you're really talking budget friendly, because if it's free, it's for me. So for somebody else, for $80, they can get a yearly pass to get into all the national parks. So that's really, really cheap. So it's just a matter of, are you going to camp like old school with a tent, or are you going to rent an RV and be really comfortable where it's kind of camping, but it's not? You got that mobile home with you. So you know, I've hit some parks. I grew up in the Northwest, so I've gotten a chance to go to, like, you know, Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, getting to stay in some of these amazing cabins. A lot of times you can go to different parks and they'll have cabins you can rent for really, really cheap, you know, like $30 a night, $40 a night. And it's just a different experience with your family, and it can be kind of a bonding experience. But now I've been to some parks, but man, when I started to talk to Dale a little bit, he's kind of a park junkie. This young man has been through some places. So I'm going to let him touch a little bit more on some of the awesome places that he's gotten a chance to go to.
Well, thank you for that introduction. As a park junkie, there are a lot of things to be out there, and I will take being a park junkie over most of the others. Before I get into it, I do just want to remind all of our viewers that are out there that if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any show topic suggestions you want us to take a look at, there's going to be a contact box below this video playing. It's going to be the absolute best way to get in contact with us. So again, any comments, future show topics, suggestions, anything, go ahead and put your information down there, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Now, I have been to my fair share of national parks. I'll tell you a little backstory. So I had a travel bug in my 20s, and I quit work. I had a bunch of money saved up, and I quit my job, and I went, took 16 months off and started traveling. Now, if you're wondering how I got into being a travel agent, or why I thought being a travel agent would be cool, that might give you a little insight. I just like to travel, so it just made sense for me. So I've been to about 20 different national parks, and what I want to do is I kind of want to just break them down for people, because I don't think very many people understand what kind of natural beauty is out there. So rather than take your kids to like a Disney World or a Disneyland or a Busch Gardens, something like that, that might be in one of those zones that might put you at a little bit of risk, you know, you might want to consider going out to southern Utah. You know, you can go ahead, get that $80 annual pass, or if you're military, you can get it for free. And you can go and check out like Arches National Park, Bryce Canyon. You can check out Zion National Park. There's a state park through there called Goblin State Park, and there you can take a look at some hoodoos. And I'm going to let you do the Googling yourself about what that geological formation is. It's really cool. It's definitely awesome to see firsthand. And I can tell you, as an adult, I loved it. I saw countless kids just fall in love with the scenery that's there. And when you're in Zion, or, you know, anywhere in that southern Utah, it's really nice to have a camper or an RV, because you can go to all three of those parks. They're all within relatively short driving distance. So that might be the premier destination for you to go to. And it's really cool because in all of these parks, you have like short day hikes, and you also have like long backpacking overnight excursions if you choose to. So it really gives you a lot of variation. So if you have really, really little ones, you know, you can drive to the top of a mountain rather than have to actually like hike them up there in a backpack. I know those little kids can get heavy. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, Tim already talked about like Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier. One of my favorites, though, was Olympic National Park up on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. It's right on the border of Vancouver, you know, into British Columbia. And what I loved about it is you have like 3 or 4 different completely different ecosystems. So you can be up on 12,000-foot mountain peaks looking over, and you see the clouds rolling over, but none of them coming over. You know, the rain's dumping as the I'm not going to get into the meteorology of it, but but it's raining on the other side of those mountains, and on the other side is a rainforest. Believe it or not, rainforest exists not just in the tropics. And you also have a bunch of like rocky ocean shore to take a look at. You can spot whales off of it. It's a really, really awesome spot. You have old growth forests as well. You can also, working your way south from there, you can go ahead and hit up all sorts of hot springs along the way as well in the national forests that are out there. You can go to the Redwood National Park in the top of California. You can work your way down. If you go to the Sierra Nevadas, a little bit further east from the coast, you can go into Yosemite. And I got to say, there's a reason why Ansel Adams took so many pictures of Yosemite. It's just absolutely stunning. I mean, there's really nothing else like it in the world. If you haven't been and you're looking for an alternative, that might just be where you want to go. If you keep going further south, you'll see the Grand Sequoia National Park, which is another large giant tree, just like the redwoods. They're wider base, not quite as tall, and they're in a more dry area. So the redwoods, typically you can get a bunch of rain. Maybe not with California and the drought that they're going through, but it's a little bit drier area, but it is absolutely beautiful as well. You obviously have Joshua Tree. You have the Grand Canyon, which is, I think, a no-brainer to go to if you haven't been to. If you're in Arizona, you can go to the Painted Desert. If you go back into like southern Colorado, southwestern Colorado, you have the Mesa Verde National Park. The list kind of goes on and on. I mean, there's literally hundreds of national parks that are out there. And if you're on the East Coast, you might want to take a look at the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's a really nice scenic drive that goes up through the Appalachian Mountains. And there's all sorts of little towns, awesome little nooks and crannies to go and explore in that might just be what you need, a 3 or 4 day road trip, maybe even just camping with the kids. So I don't want to beat up national parks too much. It is kind of a show topic in itself, but like I said, I've been to 20 of them. I kind of know a thing or two about them. They're really exciting. I know adults love them, kids love them, and they're really economical. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg. There's no tickets to buy rides or, tickets to buy to play games or anything like that. It's just good old fashioned nature. So, we don't want to just harp on, just keep going on about national parks. There's lots of other places that you can visit that aren't in the Caribbean as well. And so I'm going to kick that back over to Tim, have him talk about a few other destinations that are Zika virus free and are really exciting to go and visit.
Yeah, maybe you still want that tropical feel, but you don't want to have to go to the Caribbean. So Hawaii, Dale and I were talking about it yesterday, and there's a cruise he can kind of hit on a little bit more, but you can actually take a cruise to Hawaii and hit 4 of the major islands without having to be able to like fly to Hawaii and, take hops to be able to kind of experience the different islands. So maybe you take a cruise where that's all inclusive. So for your spring break, it's really, really simple. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to worry about any of the food, and you still get to go have that tropical feel. Or maybe you want to go to Bermuda. Bermuda is actually not in the Caribbean. It's about equal to where South Carolina is. And Bermuda is about 119 islands that are all put together. So Bermuda is another great tropical destination that you can go and hit. And now maybe you're single and but a little bit older, and you want to get away for spring break, but you don't want to go where the chaos is going to be, because now maybe you're going down to Mexico or one of those areas, but you don't want to be on the beach where there's going to be just a bunch of really, really maybe loud and rowdy young people. So one of the things that we're going to suggest to you is look for some of the smaller, more private, adult-only resorts. And actually, Dale, when we were talking about the Strip, when you were saying that about going down to Mexico, you wanted to avoid the Strip. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I definitely can. So if you go down, like Cancun's just one of those getaways for college spring breaks, and there's some really large all-inclusive resorts. Now, there's like an island right off of Cancun. There's like a barrier island, and that's where a lot of those all-inclusives are. And if you're looking for a little bit of peace and quiet, I wouldn't recommend staying anywhere on that strip, unless you were to stay at the Club Med Cancun property, just because they were the first ones on that strip. So they're buried all the way down on the southern end. And the reason why that location is so important, one, they have more land area than any other resort on that little island. So, you got this kind of expansive feel. And two, the beach there is, there's no private beach in Mexico. So even though you may be staying at, say, the Grand Oasis Hotel, people are going to be walking up and down that beach from wherever they are, but they typically don't go down to the southern end where Club Med is, because it's a farther farther walk away, and it's just a little bit more secluded. So that would be the only recommendation I would give if you wanted peace and quiet. Now there are some properties that I would suggest you go to if you want the action, you want the loud atmosphere. But if you're looking for something a little bit quieter, I would suggest going to the Club Med. And if you're looking to get away from it altogether, you know, you can go anywhere south of Cancun. So pretty much south of Puerto Morelos, down to Playa del Carmen, all the way down to Tulum is going to be less spring breaky with the college kids and more adult friendly. So that's kind of a suggestion if you're looking for something a little bit more quiet, a little bit more romantic. You know, that's kind of the way that I would go about it personally.
Nice. Absolutely. So, you know, these are just some simple suggestions for spring break. Obviously, if you have any questions and you want to know more about helping to plan your spring break, contact us below in that contact box. We'd love to hear from you. You know, we are getting ready to come up with another topic here. So one of the things we were talking about before is ways to earn free vacations. So our next topic that we're going to be talking about is the benefits of being an agent and some of the perks that you're going to be able to earn from becoming an agent and being an agent in the travel industry. And Dale, did you want to hit on that just a little bit more?
Absolutely. You know, if you're someone that loves to travel, if you're someone that wants to travel more and you maybe want to turn an expense into an income, the travel agent might be the way for you to go. And it's something that really appeals to those that want a different lifestyle, because there are a lot of benefits that you can earn. And I do want to say earn, nothing's given out for free. It's not, you know, hitting the lottery or anything. There is work involved, but there's all sorts of incentives that you earn through educating yourself about products and by production, by actually selling the product to those vendors. So, you know, that's kind of what we're going to be talking on next week. I guess I did, before we close this whole thing out, I did want to mention that if you want to go somewhere that isn't a national park and you're not looking for a cruise or something, don't forget the big cities that are out there in the country. There's Boston, there's New York City, there's San Francisco, and those are just 3 U.S. cities. You can go to Montreal, you can go to Vancouver. Those are all in the north. You're not going to be affected by any kind of virus, and you might actually find yourself some really awesome deals, just because typically people during spring break are heading south. So that was kind of a last minute thought I wanted to throw in there. Do you have any last minute thoughts yourself, Tim?
No, I mean, I think we've covered spring break pretty well. You know, we really appreciate your time. We will see you again next Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to know more about preparing for your spring break, contact us. We'd love to hear from you. So I'm your Travel Ninja, Tim. I appreciate your time. Been great hanging out with you, Dale, as always. Man, thank you just for making this so much fun.
Hey, couldn't do it without you. It takes 2 travel ninjas to put on Travel Happens, and that's just the way that it is. So thank you all for taking your time to spend your Wednesday evening with us, or maybe you're catching this on the replay, whatever. You're still our Travel Ninja family. Hopefully we've covered a lot of the spring break, like Tim said. Any questions, comments, future show topics, go ahead, put it in the comment box below. We are your Travel Ninjas, and we look forward to seeing you next week, where we talk about benefits of a travel agent. We'll see you then.